Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Al Quarles, host of Guys Talking Sports. Um, right now, before we get started, I do want to say thank you to everybody that's been paying attention and been listening. Right now, we're just doing something big right now because now we just been accepted to go on iTunes. So you can catch us on iTunes on a podcast, but we'll talk a little bit more about that once the show ends. But for right now, I got my special guest with me. I got James Ross here from Philadelphia. Say hi to everybody out there.
What's up, everybody? What's up, big time?
What's going on? So, without further ado, I was going to talk about the World Cup and a little bit about the NBA. But before we get started, Earl just hit me up with some news about the about A-Rod. So I'm gonna let you talk about it because I didn't really hear it until just now. So the floor is yours.
All right, really, it was a book that came out called Blood Sports: Alex Friedrichs, Biogenesis, and the Quest to End Baseball Steroids Era by Tim Elfinick and Gus Roberts. And really, it was talking about that back in I think it was 2007. A-Rod went to the major leagues and basically asked for, an acceptance to take some testosterones to kind of help him out with one of his injuries, and another acceptance to take testosterones to help him to lose weight. So the major league approved both, and basically back in 2008, he won the major leagues, and he got back in major leagues, but he won, the MVP for the league. And the next year, he actually went back and asked the major leagues for that testosterone use for another year for two separate instances. They gave it to him for the first year, but the second instance, they didn't give it to him. So, the fact that, A-Rod taking steroids or testosterone enhancements, where the major league originally said they were, not in favor of it, it looks like possibly it might have been in favor of. So that sheds a little bit of different light on the whole A-Rod, situation.
I did. That's a little bit of light is a little that completely changes the whole outcome of everything for me. The whole if they wow. I didn't expect that to happen. I was really, for them to be so adamant about, what A-Rod was going through, the whole thing, the whole media situation with him going through what he was going through with the drug policy and the drug suspension. Now to hear this coming out is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in 2008, 3 major leaguers were granted exemptions to take drugs to treat that, excuse me for getting the pronunciation incorrect, hyperrhodesium, which, in 2006 through 2013, only 15 were granted for that, for that acceptance. In 2008, only 3 were. So at least from what some people have said, that the major leagues knew what was going on and were okay with some of the people having that testosterone enhancement. But all of a sudden, once it got out that it was drug enhancement, looks like major leagues decided to take a step back and act like they didn't know what was going on.
Wow, based on this, that changes the whole outcome, the whole scope of things, because now you're throwing, it's like now that there's some fuzziness in what you're saying because you were so adamant about, A-Rod not knowing about all this and A-Rod going the way that he was going. Now there's pretty much no, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's pretty much it's pretty much you're saying one thing, and if this is everything about this book is true, you really did know something that was going on, which kind of makes it you're not telling your whole side of the story, and that's really something that I'm really interested to hear down the road, because if that is correct and they did know something, you can't, that throws the whole suspension and everything into something crazy. I'm very interested to hear more information about it. Looks like I lost Earl for a minute, so you're back. But
yeah.
I didn't hear it, so like I said, I'm very curious to hear what other people's concern about this is. So.
Yeah, this is pretty much like a breaking news that happened today. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some more information coming out. We don't know all the details or all the facts about it coming out, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more information coming out about this as the days and the weeks go on, and it might lead some weight to what A-Rod was coming at the major leagues for about some hypocrisy about what they were doing and how they were treating different players. But I mean, we all knew that steroids was going on for a long time in the major leagues. And as long as major leagues were getting a lot of press from it, and the whole home run thing with Mark McGwire and the other guy was going on, they weren't saying anything. So now that steroids got into it, they were acting like they were trying to jump back and say, hey, we didn't know, but come on, somebody knew something.
Yeah, someone had to know something, and not only that is basically is now it gives some credit to A-Rod, which is crazy enough to believe. But now he has something to actually, to carry, and you lose a little bit more from the Major League Baseball as a whole. So it's like I said, I didn't see this coming, but I'm definitely interested to hear more about this. I have Adrian Catwell with me. Just joined in. What's going on?
What's going on, Blair?
I'm here, man.
We talking about Earl just hit me up with the Major League the A-Rod situation. And
this new news?
Yeah. I didn't know if you was aware of it as well.
Nah, I haven't heard anything about it.
Oh man, a Yankees fan? Come on, man. Let me fill you in. Apparently, it's a book coming out saying that in the major leagues granted A-Rod permission to take some testosterone for a specific use back in 2007, and of course in 2008, he went on to do the MVPs. He did 54 home runs. He did 156 runs batted in, a .314 average. He won an MVP that year after the league granted him permission to take testosterone for limited use in 2007.
Interesting. Very interesting. So there's documented proof that he has this?
Apparently approval from the league. I mean, it's a book coming out right now. They're saying that, but we're not sure. Then in 2008, three major leaguers were granted exemptions to take the drugs to treat hyprodesnine. So, and from 2006 to 2013, maybe like about 15 guys are granted that same exemption to take testosterone, which sometimes the major league frowns upon for that kind of syndrome and also weight loss. Just in 2008 going to 2009, A-Rod wanted to take that for weight loss or something other. Then he granted him for the first, but not for weight loss. So I don't know. That's your boy, man. That's your Yankees.
Huh. All the players found loopholes.
Yeah.
And then
that's a hell of a loophole.
They want to ban him. Interesting.
It is.
Well,
If Bud Selig is never gonna, Bud Selig is not gonna sit there and say he gave proof or gave an okay to that. It's gonna go back to the Supreme Court or some type of U.S.
No, because he got to out him own self out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bud Selig got to out him own self off, but he's not going to do that. He should have resigned a few years ago once this whole thing came about. But he sat there and acted like he had no knowledge of what was going on, which is ridiculous. Everybody getting banned for years, and Bud Selig sitting pretty on top of the high horse.
That is true. That is true. And what makes it makes you wonder now. It makes you wonder now what the league is going to do about this. I mean, that's something that you can't expect with everything that you've accomplished or quote unquote accomplished up to this point, to have this come back and bite you. It's really going to be an issue. And it's very it's I mean it's very interesting to see how they're going to play damage control of this if everything is certainly where it sounds to be true.
But will the other 15 players come out and actually say something?
That's the $100 million question. I don't know.
A-Rod is doing this to, just cover. A-Rod is doing what he needs. Will the other 50 there to say they were using a banned substance, even though the league granted them permission to do so?
I mean, to be honest, he don't even really. Do he really need the 15? All he really needs is just one person to come out and speak and say, "Hey, yeah, that is correct." I mean, all it does is, I mean, right now it's still a comparison between A-Rod and everybody else. All he needs is just that one person to jump on his side, and that will spark. That'll be enough to just spark everything. I mean, spin it out of control.
Yeah. But 15 sounds a hell of a lot better than 2.
That's true. That's true.
Nah, I agree.
Somebody in I got your back.
That's true. That's true. Now, imagine that. Like the 15 people come back, will back up A-Rod and then go after MLB. After all the stuff that A-Rod did in the beginning to, you know what I'm saying, where the 15 didn't support him to begin with.
That is true.
I definitely want to keep up more onto this and see what else. I definitely want to know more because it just won't stop here. I mean, there's got to be some more news about this coming down the road.
But if we can segue for a little bit from still in baseball, I want to ask my man Adrian, who you think is going to be better, ALE East or ALE West? Because ALE East is all over the place.
Did we lose him?
I don't know. It looked like it might have.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Yep, we lost him.
Yeah, he's going.
Well, once he comes back, we'll definitely ask him that question because you're right. I mean, the way the ALE East is the Yankees at this particular point, I don't understand how come they're not hitting. That to me is just, and the fact that they're still in the hunt in the ALE East. I mean, after losing how many consecutive, maybe 4 or 5 consecutive games, but yet they're still in the hunt.
I don't know, but it's a lot of it's tight for the ALE East. I mean, you got really 3. No, well, at this particular point, you got maybe like 6 games separating first from third. I mean, yeah. But we all know it's a long season. That can flip and change within 2 weeks.
No, that is true. That is true. That is true. It's a very long season, but yeah. I expected a little bit. I expected a little bit more.
Yeah, but the Oakland Angels are definitely doing their thing right about now. They don't even got a budget that, let's say, the Yankees or even the Boston Red Sox, even the Dodgers got. I mean, right now, I mean the Dodgers is really not doing that. It's still okay, but they're kind of treading water. They're second in the NL West, but really, come on.
Yeah, I think it's just in teams in general where you spend so much money to try and get the try to get everybody, but with baseball, Major League Baseball, sometimes you don't even need that. Tampa Bay Rays was the perfect example of that.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much parity in baseball right now. I mean, you don't have to spend that much money, but I mean, as long as they got the profit sharing and the cap, well, a soft cap in the league. I mean, you can have the worst team being the first that win 2 seasons.
That's true. That is true. That is true. But it's amazing how teams are looking right now in the standings. Like it's like I never thought that. For example, I never thought that Tampa would be that bad. At this point, I never thought they would be in the bottom of the league. And
No.
with the AL East, you got Toronto and Baltimore. Just they're cruising right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Baltimore was doing as good back last year. We was down for the 50th. I would have went to a game.
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind checking it out.
Exactly, they were playing right behind us.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like you said. This is really we're halfway through the season, so I mean anything could change at an instant. So it's just curious. It's so many teams that start off hot like that, no matter what sport. But with Major League, you would some teams you wouldn't expect to be in a position where they are right now.
Correct. Correctamundo.
So I'm curious to hear what Ace has to say about the standings and his team as well. So hopefully he'll come back on. I don't have any. My loyalty really relies on the Mets, but I'm not gonna say I'm a diehard Met fan. I'm a casual Met fan.
You're a casual Met fan as much as I'm a casual Yankees fan. So I'll watch them if they're on TV. But once I can understand why they didn't give Cano a contract, but I'm like, I wish they would have gave Cano a contract instead of Ellsbury, a former Boston Red Sox who gave all that money. And you wouldn't give Cano the money, really? But Cano was asking for a lot of money.
Yeah, and a lot of years.
He could took a little bit to let some other people come on, but he was asking for a max contract.
Well, here's my question: do you think he really deserved it at the time? I should say.
Yes and no. I think he kind of did deserve. I think he kind of didn't deserve, which is probably the reason why the Yankees probably. I don't think he lowballed him, but I think they didn't give him as much as he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dodgers had the cash at the time. Well, they had the money to give him, and they just paid him up. I mean, excuse me. The Mariners had the money to pay him, and they gave him up, and he just, he went for the money.
Yeah. To be honest, that's what I mean. As far as players in general, sports players in general, that's why I don't really understand some people's, their mindset sometimes, because if you're at a peak or you're playing well and you're playing for your final contract, you would think that you would want to go after, play to your best ability to get the maximum contract you deserve. So I can understand how Cano wants to, he felt as though that contract was good enough for him because he felt as though he was the best player, which rightfully so. If he deserves that contract and somebody offered that to him, by all means, why not take it? But I don't know. I guess a lot of players right now, I'm not saying in the major league, but just in general, sometimes they just feel as though that the max is not really all that, is not enough anymore.
Yeah.
Like with Major League, everything is guaranteed right off the bat, right?
Major Leagues, basketball, only people that ain't guaranteed. Well, Major League Basketball and hockey, only people that ain't guaranteed is football, which, in my opinion, should be guaranteed outside of everybody else.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely agree with that. Or at least portion of the contract should be guaranteed.
Agreed.
So, still waiting for Adrian to come back, but until he comes back, we could go back into MLB. Let's talk about the World Cup. Yeah. That was a heartbreaking game. I have to admit that was a heartbreaking game. But Tim Howard, I got a lot of respect for him. Like, for him to do what he did to this final game, got a lot of respect. But
yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I was like looking at it a little bit at work, and I was looking at it a little bit when I went to the gym, and he was really putting in a lot of work. The defense for the soccer team didn't do much for it to help them because the ball was pretty much on their side, and they was on defense pretty much the entire game.
Yes, and that right there, I don't know if it was the players or the coach how they set it up, but I'll put it like this: if it wasn't for Tim Howard, that would have been a blowout game. Like they could have made 5 or 6 goals easily. And for Tim Howard basically was their I mean, he was the valuable player, not from the U.S. without question.
Yeah, I believe he broke the record for the most saves in a World Cup game. If I'm I could be mistaken. I could be challenged, but I believe he did break the record.
And I mean, it makes me wonder sometimes of the players who they pick sometimes, because the question is that with the game being how it's constructed, which I didn't realize until I started watching it. In regards to once you're taken off the field, you cannot go back in, and that's I didn't even know that, because I was wondering. I was like, why is they not coming back in? And people was telling me, hey, look, they can't come in. That's the rule. Once you're taken out for that game. So I mean, I just wonder how it was constructed. I really need to. The one thing that it made me did was pay attention to soccer a lot more, because truth be told, I never really watched soccer. I was never an avid soccer person or fan of that nature. But I have to admit, the USA, this whole World Cup thing made me pay attention to it a little bit more.
I think it made a lot of people pay attention because, I mean, it happens every 4 years. I mean, even at my job, I mean, we had a big screen TV set up in the corner where people can watch not just the USA game, but just, all World Cup games in general. Mm-hmm. I think it definitely had added more effect when you had the U.S. playing and moving into different rounds as opposed to another team, because you had a lot of people, buying in, playing. I mean, I think the last game that they had, which might have been a couple of days ago, they were saying that the productivity from 12 to 5 was lower because everybody was streaming or watching the World Cup game, which, I didn't do that, but we had a TV set up where you can kind of look in and see. Mm-hmm. But I think, you have a more vested interest in the World Cup when your country is still playing as opposed to just like no other country. And I work with a lot of people that are from different other countries. I have a guy from Spain, a guy from Brazil, a guy from Switzerland and Belgium, and, they're more excited about it, and they know all the names of these people. There's one guy that was playing in Switzerland called Metzier, who was like the best player, or has been the best player in, soccer for a long time. Mm-hmm. These guys knew him, knew him and knew everything about him. But it just shows you that for me, from the U.S., I'm more football, basketball, even some baseball, but, soccer is the world outside of the U.S., so I think that the U.S. should kind of embrace hockey a little bit more, not just every 4 years for the World Cup, or even maybe in the Olympics, where they kind of generally casually look at it, but that's not their main sports. But I like hockey because I played hockey when I was a kid, so I mean, to me, it was all good.
Huh. Yeah, and you know what? With the amount of, the amount of different what's what I'm looking for? Like leagues that is out there right now. In regards with the whole NHL playoffs, you saw a spike of people wanting to know more about hockey. I don't know about in the South Jersey area, but up north, when the Rangers was in the finals, a lot of people who weren't hockey fans got into being hockey a little bit more. Same thing with soccer. When you see people, the more people start watching it, the more they get invested into it. And, even though soccer's not really that popular here in the U.S., hopefully with this will help jumpstart it to be one of the most popular events out there. Because like you said, it's outside of the U.S., soccer is well known. And everybody, like right now, I couldn't even name maybe 3 people on the U.S. soccer team. Other than Tim Howard. So, it's definitely something that hopefully catches on where people start to get more feel for it and more fan support, and which is something I see it happen. So
I hope so, because like I said, I played soccer when I was in elementary school, high school. I even played for them, max in school back when I was in high school. So No, I've played. I hope it gets a little more press than what it's been getting in the past. I mean, I think because it takes a while sometimes to get a goal. It's not as fast and as paced as basketball or football. Maybe along the same lines as baseball, but baseball is more like a U.S. pastime, where soccer is more like a world, and it's not a much vested interest in it.
Yeah, and to be honest, because I was hearing talk about this now that they were taking some type of poll. I don't know why I'm at this particular point, but they were saying that with the way baseball is right now, a lot of people will not be surprised if soccer actually goes past baseball. I really don't know, and especially in the U.S. because, like you said, baseball is America's pastime. But a lot of people that are saying soccer is a little bit more of it gains your momentum even when you're heading to school or goal. It's in the same scenario as NHL, like hockey. So you're gonna start to see people that's looking into stuff like that more because it'll catch their interest maybe a little bit more. I don't see that surpassing any of the major sports that we have in the U.S. right now, but who knows down the road.
Yeah, I think the farther the U.S. would have went, even if they won the World Cup, I think if they won the World Cup, then you can't ignore soccer in the U.S. at all.
Yeah.
If they would have made it to at least the finals or at least the semifinals, you can't ignore it. The way they got bounced out, maybe, but I would like to see hockey. It's live all over the world except for the U.S. I mean, you call football a different kind of football here, but the football is genuine all across the globe outside of the U.S.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So we'll see how everything pans out, but hopefully people will still continue to watch the World Cup even though the U.S. is gone. Find out more information about all the other teams that's out there.
I'm gonna still watch it. Hey, I can get some hours off at work, so I'm gonna still watch it.
Yeah. Now, the only way right now I just catch the streams. For whatever reason, I know some people watch it at work, but I at this particular point, I try to watch it. I try to catch on it every now and then, but my work sometimes don't give me that luxury to do that. So.
Same here. Here.
All right. Real quick, well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the NBA since that's also been some big news. I guess we'll start with the whole thing with the LeBron and the Heat, with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade all opting out, and Udonis Haslem. I'm going to mention those guys as well because they're still the Miami Heat, part of the Miami Heat. It's not, to me, it's not always about the big three, but they're all opting out. LeBron is also, of course, asking for the max. What do you think about that? In that response, everybody else is willing to take cuts, and LeBron offering, wants the max.
That's a good question. Let me be clear about this one here. I don't think it's fair, per se, for LeBron James to ask for the maximum salary and then have Wade and Bosh take cuts. Really, Wade, agreed to have Bosh and LeBron come to his team, and he took a cut then to have them come to his team. So how can you ask the man who's on the team to take another cut, and the guy that you asked to come, bring him here, get more? Now, granted, he got you he got you 2 championships during that time. But guess what? Wade got them a championship without LeBron and without Bosh. So for me, the one person who I think should not take a cut is Wade. And I don't like that. I understand what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you get Kyle Lowry, which is still questionable, if you you still get Gortat, which is really questionable because Washington's giving him the money, and I hope Gortat stays with the Wizards because I like the Wizards the way they are constructed right now. They need two more people to get them really in the mix, but I don't want Gortat going to the Heat at all. Stay the Wizards, but still, Wade should be taking that much of a cut over LeBron. LeBron wants max money. Get your max money, but if you want your max money, don't compromise. Don't belittle the two people who helped you, and don't belittle the man that agreed to take a cut to bring you to the team. If you want your max money, go somewhere else to get it.
You know what? You hit on all the points. I don't even have to say anything. I mean, I ain't even gonna say anything at that particular point. You already just said everything that I was gonna say. So at this particular point, the question is answered. Question is answered.
I don't have no problem with LeBron James asking for the max money. Get your money. If you want to get your money, go ahead and get it. But don't sit there on the same team with your man and actually come on to help you win, and then you sit there and take the max money and then have them take. No, come on. That's
Now I definitely agree. I definitely agree. But but the media is saying, hey, look, it's LeBron James. He's the best player in the NBA. I mean,
but that was his team. That was Dwayne Wade's team before he got there. Dwayne Wade won the championship before he got there. I mean, granted, it was with a limited Shaq, but still, that was his team before he got there. Come on, that's not right.
No, look, you're preaching to the choir. I completely agree. Okay, I completely agree with you on that. I find it is because a lot of media right now is they're all for it. Hey, look. If he's LeBron James, I mean, he should ask for the max contract. And what makes it, I understand where you're coming from, but Chris and Dwayne are saying, hey, look, it's you're right, we're willing to take a cut. So
I don't feel good about it, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. But still, I feel, come on, man. That's your man. Bosh, yeah, but at least Wade, that's your man. At least, quote unquote, that's your man.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you, but all that does at this particular point is solidify the fact that Dwayne is now conceding that this is no longer his team. He's willing to say at this particular point, no, this is LeBron's team at this point. Even though I've been there for all this time, I have won a championship before he has. It's now LeBron's team.
Yeah, and I've been Dwayne Wade back from the Marquette days, man. Come on. Really? This is it doesn't sit right with me.
No, I agree. Trust me, I completely agree. At this stage, at this particular point, people have to realize is that what makes it even more crazy is the fact that you already know that you're on your tail end of your career, or you're going downward on your career. It's not like that you're at your peak like you was before. So the question is, why not get the most money that you can right now, instead of opting out? You won your championship rings. Regardless of what LeBron does, you always, even if he does go to another team, whatever, that's still fine. If he stays with you and you guys win another championship, you're still going to always have that one more championship than him. So the point I'm making is that at this particular stage, why not just go after what you feel as though is right? And I understand what majority of the players is doing right now. They're going after the money, and they should. No one should be trying to take a pay cut at this particular stage just because you want to win a championship ring. Why not have both? Put yourself in a better position with a team that gives you that chance while you can still get the money that you deserve.
No, I agree. You had I think it was Tim Duncan that went and took a pay cut. A hell of a pay cut a couple of years ago. And look what happens. He went to the finals last year, should have won, went to the finals last year, and won the finals this year because he took a pay cut to allow the Spurs to bring in, I think it went from $23 million to $18 million. That's almost a half a pay cut.
Yeah.
So allow the Spurs room to bring in Parker, to bring in Ginobili, and to get all other pieces in there, and it's worked out well.
Yeah. Now, see, Duncan is the exception.
You're right.
Duncan is the exception because he already knows that he doesn't have to do it by himself. He already knows, he understands the concept that the Spurs is a team-oriented team.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Miami Heat, it's not a team-oriented team. It's a superstar-oriented team, and that's where a majority of these people are. They're superstars that are trying to be. They're trying to do what the Spurs is trying to do or have done, and they haven't done it. I mean, they're not going to be able to do it. Even if LeBron says, "I want the max money," even if like you said, if you really want to get to that point where you want to win championships, why not take less? Why not be equal with everybody else like you did when you first came over here? So
yeah.
that's it's weird. It's weird. But
so where do you think Melo's going to land?
Melo, that's a saga in its entirety. To be honest,
let me phrase this: he got two chances. He's not going to Houston to play with Harden and Howard. Come on, Howard really sucks because he hasn't been good since the Orlando days. He's not playing in Houston. He's not playing in Dallas. It's either two choices. It's either going to be A, it's either going to be New York, or B, it's going to be L.A. C, a B plus will probably be Chicago, but I don't think Derrick Rose really wants him in Chicago.
Well, here's the thing, because Melo went to visit Chicago the other day, and they had everything. Derrick Rose even worked out for Melo. So Derrick Rose was there to try and get him. Tosh Gibson was there because Melo wants Tosh Gibson to stay.
Yeah, you can't get rid of Tosh Gibson. If they get rid of Tosh Gibson, they would be absolutely stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is true. That is true. So, but the first thing they gotta do, regardless, is amnesty, do something with Carlos Boozer's contract. So until they do something,
because Carlos Boozer is a good player. I mean, he might not be the player he was when he was in Utah with back in the day, but he's still he's still a serviceable player.
Yeah, he is, but not for the contract that he has.
No, you got to amnesty him and get him off the books.
Yeah, definitely. But even if they do that, then they'll have enough to sign Melo. Which, to be honest, I mean, it's the right. I mean, everything is there for him at this particular point. With Chicago, it gives him the opportunity to win a championship, and it gives him the opportunity to make the money that he is asking for. Even though New York will give him more, it would be beneficial for him to get both out of both pieces, because if he stays in New York, it'll be all about the money, and he's not going to have a chance to win championships there. At least not the next 3. Well, in the next 4 years. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. So at this particular point, I'm interested to see him if he picks any other place. To be honest, in my opinion, if he picks any other place besides Chicago, I'm very curious. I mean, I'm very interested in the reasoning why he picked that place. L.A. I would see him go to L.A. Him and Kobe, I don't know. For whatever reason, I just don't see that being a fit unless you have the right coach. And
no, I agree. You have to have the right coach, and you have to have, really Kobe deferring to, Melo, which he hasn't deferred to anybody really, out of behest since Shaq. And I mean, the early days of Shaq, because once they got to championship 3, he wasn't deferring to Shaq for much of anything.
Yeah.
But they're friends. I think he might, want to come on. It'll take the load off of him. And I think for L.A. and Kobe in the long run, having Melo there would allow Kobe to kind of play himself in. He doesn't have to be the point person on offense all the time. It will allow him to kind of play into the game and get himself back in the step. And I think the relationship between him and Melo was the point where he may be probably will be willing to say, hey, look, only got 2 years left. This is your team. Let me play into it. Let's try to go for one more year. I mean, but then if Pau Gasol goes to, let's say, Miami or Dallas or Houston, then that's it.
My mic. Oh, there we go. So here's my question. Sorry about that. The question I have is that the problem is that with Kobe, it's like the question is he really going to share the ball?
That's that's the $48 million contract question.
Is he really going to take? Is he going to really pass it? That's really what the question is. Because down the pike, who's going to be the person to take the final shot?
You know what? I think at this particular point in time in his career, I think he would love to help.
Yeah,
he loves.
I mean,
not just
just
help,
like I said, the coach is going to be key for that.
They don't even have a coach, so why would Melo even come to LA? Unless he picks the coach. Who's he going to pick? Brian Scott? Kurt Rambis? I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
Personally, I think they should get Mark Jackson, but you know, he got a raw deal.
Yeah, but what makes it even worse is because they got to pick something where both Carmelo. Well, to be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you. Before I was saying, yeah, he got a raw deal, but I'm more curious as to what was the differences of opinion with Mark Jackson and management. Like, is it because he wanted more power, or you know, I'm more curious to find out what actually happened for that to happen. I should say.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, you know, they were saying there were some differences between the both of them, but you know, we won't really know for a couple of years. But I always thought that he was a pretty good coach.
Yeah, he is. But the thing about it was that, and to be honest, I really didn't think about that as much until this whole thing with Jason Kidd came into light. So, like, when that came into light, that made me took a step back and say, because there had to have been something that was going on between management and Mark Jackson. So, I'm more. It makes me more curious to find out what happened, what actually happened there. So,
I'm curious too.
Real quick, while we on that. Okay, good.
No, you go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say while I'm on the subject of Jason Kidd, real quick, I'm not even gonna go into a 10-minute, 15-minute rant about it. Real quick, Jason Kidd, I was I like Jason Kidd as a player. Was one of my favorite.
Will I be right back while I get a refill? Because I have
go ahead. Because
I have a 1-minute rant on Jason Kidd myself.
Okay. All right. So while he does that, I'm gonna go on my quick rant. Real quick, Jason Kidd, loved him as a player. One of the all-time Nets. A Brooklyn Net fan from New Jersey days. So you could tell that this was something I wasn't okay about the initial hire as him being a coach because it was his first year. I felt as though that he needed to be some type of assistant, but gave him the benefit of the doubt as a first-year coach. By midway through December, I said, you know what, this may not work out. But he turned it around. But in actuality, I like Kidd as a coach. I mean, as a player. As a coach, on the other hand, I thought he was pretty decent as far as the first season is concerned. After that, now it makes me realize a couple of things about Kidd, but I'm not going to go into that because I have my special guest, Earl's going to talk about it for him about the Jason Kidd situation. I could do my whole 15-minute rant. That'll be another podcast, but the floor is yours, Earl.
I'm going to do it for maybe less than a minute, but what, as I was saying in Stephen A. Smith terms, what gall do you have? What nerve do you have to say that you want to have more power than a GM who signed off on bringing your butt from the Knicks to the Nets with no coaching experience to be above him to pick players, and he said no, and you want to leave? I mean, really? I mean, the Nets did good, above good, but how are you going to sit there and ask for more power? And I grabbed the Knicks. They said, well, we'll give you another year to see how you do, but you want to buck this and go to the fucking Milwaukee Bucks? Outside of Jabari Parker, who the hell do they have? Nobody. And I mean, I should say nobody, but they don't have anybody of substance at the particular point. They have a bunch of, late round first picks and free agents that signed up on it to get the money. But trust me, you want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks over the Brooklyn Nets, a high profile job outside of a not that much profile job? Were you that scared of New York? I don't know. I may get where he wants more control, but he's doing it in the wrong kind of way. I think if you'd have got to year 2 and year 3, maybe, and you had some good success, okay, I would give him more, credence where you can ask for that. After your first year, your first coach experience, not high school, not college, not assistant coach, but an NBA coach, you're getting millions of dollars, and really, you're going to buck the Knicks for that? You know what? As the Knicks said, and they gave him a second-round pick, they shouldn't even gave up that. They should give him some cash and have him going. I wouldn't give him a second-round pick for anything. And I'm being very kind because I had a bigger rant at work for this, but I'm being very kind. Mr. Quarles, the floor is yours.
Well, you pretty much hit all the points. To be honest, I was kind of happy that they got 2 second-round picks for Kid. I didn't expect them. Everybody was talking about getting a first-round pick for him. I wasn't expecting that because, to be honest, he's a first-time coach, first-year coach. So he couldn't have gotten a first-round pick like they did with Doc Rivers or any of the other coaches that they traded for. The whole thing about this was just it's a business thing. I can understand, but like you said, Jason Kidd, it was a bold move, definitely a bold move on his part. I mean, but kudos to the Nets organization for saying no. That it's utterly ridiculous. But it's more surprising the fact that Milwaukee ended up wanting to bring him, and yet they traded him just to be a coach. It's not official that he's doing any of the GM roles that he wanted to do in Milwaukee. So all you did was just trade the coach from Brooklyn to Milwaukee. And I have to say, from the Milwaukee management, it's a pretty messed up move how you hired Jason Kidd before you fire Larry Drew, the head coach. Because what that says as an organization is that, basically you're not doing things the right way. So how are you going to get others to look at you when they see this being an issue where you don't even have the gall, the audacity to even tell Larry Drew, hey, look, we're looking at other people. He had to find out from the internet and from media, social media. I mean, at this particular point with Milwaukee, the owners, they pretty much messed up. They dropped the ball on this big time. And from the Nets aspect, they actually did a good job because in the end they ended up picking up Lionel Hollins, who to me is a better coach, and they picked him up for more money that Jason Kidd was originally offering. I mean, they offered Jason Kidd, so it's a win-win for the Nets in both aspects. For Milwaukee, that's really, you have a lot of damage control to do, and that's hopefully something that you could clean up because you're not just from this aspect. You do realize that other people, coaches, general managers, players, they're looking at how you handle this situation. And when they see that you don't even take the time to tell the previous coach that, hey, we're sorry, but we're moving on to bring in another coach, that really, from a business aspect, that's a bad look, because that's like saying any person doesn't want to hear from another person that their job is being let go when you're not that's like saying a coworker coming to you telling you, hey, we're sorry that you lost your job, and you know nothing about it because the boss didn't tell you anything that you lost your job. That's really something that you have to understand from a aspect, from a player or from anybody. You don't want to hear it from somebody else. You want to hear it from the horse's mouth. And when you don't tell that person beforehand, and yet you doing deals behind the person's back to bring in another person for you, it's an issue. And it looks bad, not just for, granted, the whole Jason Kidd thing, that the whole organization that's from the Milwaukee Bucks, it looks bad. And whether you realize it or not, if any person is looking at this, they're taking notes and saying, okay, why would I want to go there with the possibility, with the way the ownership is right now? They don't care. They just, they'll hire new people behind your back. And a lot of people will feel that, especially Larry Drew. Now, I'm not saying Larry Drew did a good job as far as his coaching with the Milwaukee Bucks, but he deserved the respect for them to let them know that, hey, we're looking at other people first, regardless. And I feel as though that's something that the Bucks organization didn't do. So hopefully they get their act together. Hopefully at this particular point they're stuck with Jason Kidd. Hopefully they can turn it around. They got Jabari Parker, so that would be a good start. But hopefully they could turn it around where they build up the respect that they need to build up. So I'm not going to talk more about that because, like I said, I could go on, continue on my rant. At this particular point, I lost Earl, so we're probably just going to end up calling this a day. So I'd like to thank Earl. He probably had to go handle some business, but I'd like to thank Earl Ross for coming in, giving his insight about the sports world. Really appreciate it. You could check us out on iTunes now. It's Guys Talking Sports. I'm Al Quarles. You can check us now on iTunes. You can check us out on podcasts as well. So I will send the links out to everybody on Twitter. I'd like to thank everybody on Google Plus, the Hangouts group, on Twitter, everybody that's been supportive. Again, you can reach me or hit me up on Twitter. I am Al Quarles. You can also hit me up on Google Plus under Al Quarles. So again, this is Al Quarles, host of Guys Talking Sports, and we'll see you on next week. We'll talk more about sports as we always do. And I'd also like to thank, special shout out to Adrian for hopping in as much as he can. I really appreciate the fellas, Adrian and Earl, checking us out, coming in, giving insight as much all the time. So again, this is Al Quarles, and I will see you until next time. Take care.